of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called. He passed it on down, didn't he? According that God was able to raise him up, even from the dead. He accounted that. He accounted that God was able to raise Isaac up from the dead if he did kill him. From whence also he received him in a figure. In other words, he's seen it. He's seen it, that he killed him and he raised him from the dead. Glory! You may have to shout a little for me. I mean, he's seen him raised from the dead. He's seen his own boy, Abraham did. Why do you think it's always in the Bible that Abraham's the father of faith? And that Abraham was counted a friend of God. When Jesus, you don't never hear people teach about that, when he was died on the cross and he went into the heart of the earth and he preached to the spirits in prison that was in Father Abraham's bosom. Why do you always refer to Abraham, Father Abraham? Because Abraham was the greatest man that God ever had to get a covenant to where he could get his son into this world. Ain't that good? When Lazarus died and the rich man died, the rich man lifted up his eyes in hell, being tormented in the flame. And there was a big gulf fixed between the righteous dead and the place of hell. And the rich man looked afar off, and he saw Lazarus over in Abraham's bosom. Glory to God. Ain't that something? Why was it in Abraham's bosom? Abraham was the man of the hour. He was the captain of the show. That's about what it amounted to. And Jesus come down there to where Abraham was at, and he preached to Isaac and Jacob and all them righteous dead, and he brought them out of there. It says that in the New Testament. They appeared and walked on the streets of the city of Jerusalem. Glory. Isn't that good? But I mean, look here. Let's go now to Romans chapter 4, and I'll try to close down right here. Romans chapter 4. I ain't never been too emotional in my life, so if I get started, I'm going to have to slow down a little, ain't I? Romans chapter 4, starting at verse 13. And again, God gave this promise, Brenda, a long time before the law. 430 years this promise and covenant was made to Abraham. Romans 4, starting at verse 13. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. What's it say in Romans chapter 10, along about verse 8, 9? What does the righteousness which is of faith say? Who is the righteousness of faith? That's what we are, ain't it? Now I'm going to read this again. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but it was to Abraham and his seed through the righteousness of faith. Ain't got nothing to do with the law, has it? For if they which are of the law be heirs, faith is made void. In other words, if you're going to get in because of the works of the law, faith is no good. But it is good. And the promise made of none effect. Because the law worketh wrath. For where no law is, there's no transgression. That's the only reason God gave the law anyway, was to show people what transgression was and what sin was. Verse 16. Therefore it is of faith, that it might be by grace. Everybody say grace. To the end the promise might be sure to all the seed. Not to that only which is of the law, but to that also which is of faith, the faith of Abraham. He is the father of us all. Why is Abraham the father of us all? As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations. before him whom he believed, even God, who quickeneth the dead, and calleth those things which be not as though they were. He changed their name and had them calling them names, and this, it meant something. God was calling things into existence, wasn't he? Abraham here, now in verse 18, who against hope, he believed in hope, that he might become the father of many nations. Not a nation, many nations. According to that which was spoken, so shall thy seed be. And being not weak in faith, he considered not his own body now dead, when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. He staggered not at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving glory to God, and being fully persuaded that what he had promised, he was able also to perform. And therefore, it was imputed to him for righteousness. That means it was just like putting money in the bank. It was putting his account for him for right standing.